Hello everyone, it's me Varus, and in this video I'm going to give you a full update on the nationwide US weather, including temperatures, polar vortex inputs, and an update on the tropics. So yeah, let's get right into it. So starting off with an interesting map that we don't really use in my videos. It's our 500 millipar geopotential height. This can represent colder air with the troughs and polar vortex, and then warmer air and ridging. So right now we have a classic kind of like negative PNA pattern. We have ridging over here in the west or troughing in the west and ridging in the east. And so our polar vortex is all bottled up over here. Now the reason I wanted to show this is as we go forward, we continue kind of seeing trains of troughs coming into the west from this side, kind of being influenced by the polar vortex. And as that continues, it'll continue shifting eastward, and we'll get more cooler shots into the central US and eastern US. So let's just keep this going. And there's kind of an example. You get one little trough right here, bringing cooler air kind of right over here. That's and that's where we usually see La Nina patterns, and then we kind of see it progress eastward, bringing a little kind of cooler air here, a little bit over here in the west as well. So it's not the best graph to show it, but what I'm trying to say is, you see how these temperatures are getting colder? That shows our polar vortex is developing. It shows how strong it is, and it shows how in October and especially November, those dislodgements could then bring big cold outbreaks, causing snow for lots of these areas. So it's something we're going to have to watch out for, especially getting deeper into winter. Now, speaking of the polar vortex, let's put this at full screen. This is our zonal mean zonal wind at 10 hectopascals. This is our polar vortex and for the northern hemisphere. So as you see, this graph continues to go up like that. That represents a developing polar vortex. It represents us getting a developing polar vortex. Now, this is where we are right now. This is kind of the this is the average. This dark, thick red line is the climatological average. Up here is kind of like the top average, and then down here is the lower average. We're riding that lower average right now. Okay, this dark, thick blue line, which might be hard to see, but this like thick blue line is what our current forecast is, and we stay weak until maybe the 20th or October, around mid-October. That's when we kind of maybe start going back up, but even that's still kind of far out. So right now we're like around 50% weaker than the average. So that represents us getting more polar shots, a more loose polar vortex, sending more polar shots down into the US. And so usually people think like, oh, stronger polar vortex equals colder air. Yes, but that's for up in Siberia and those areas, not for us. If it's weaker, it's more loose, more rotations of colder Arctic blasts come down, therefore we're overall more colder. And along that can bring some surprises like snow for areas that usually don't see it this early. Now, getting into a little bit of international forecasting. Now, this past weekend and past week, we have seen lots of snow over here in Europe, especially like the Andes Mountains, high elevations. Unusually more snow. So we're just gonna go fully out. This is snow in Russia. That's kind of out. You can ignore that. But if you see here, these little areas of snow, especially in these mountain ranges, that shows, and even up here, that shows snow. Okay, that's all snow. And yes, it's mainly in the higher elevation, but we don't usually see this until late October. So this is also coming earlier. So this just shows this is because of the polar vortex. Okay, polar vortex getting down here, causing snow in these elevations. We've seen record feet of snow. And soon people are thinking, hey, Europe is getting impacted by the polar vortex right now. In October, it will be us. So that's still a little stretch, but something to watch out for as we continue. But yeah, this snow, it definitely represents our polar vortex already starting to cause some cold and snow for Europe and eventually us. Now, switching on gears onto the tropical outlook. A storm that I did want to talk about was Tropical Storm Ileana. Now is a tropical depression. It brought up to 8+ inches of snow along Sinaloa, I think is a state of Mexico, state, and then widespread 1 and 2 outside of that into Baja California Sur. It's been a pretty, it's not a big storm, okay, but it was a storm that did bring some major impacts, as it was a tropical storm, brought heavy rain, flooding, wind, your typical tropical storm outlooks. Here is the wind history, and you can see it brought tropical storm force along the Mexico coastline, and here it is now a depression, just gonna glide north and northwestward into this little armpit between Mexico and the Baja, and eventually will fizzle out, but still bringing some rainfall and gusty winds. Now, Atlantic talk. Atlantic, we have Tropical Storm Gordon. Now, this is going to become a depression, weaken out into a depression, and going to just abruptly turn north and be carried out to sea, thankfully. Not really affecting any land, okay? Maybe choppy seas out here into the Greater or Lesser Antilles, but even then, not really expecting much from Gordon. Now, going backwards, we have this little area. This is an area we gotta watch, okay? This area, 50% in the next 48 hours, 50% in the next 7 days. If this develops, it is likely to head into kind of the Wilmington areas where it's looking right now and cause impacts for kind of areas right in here. If you're in there, watch for impacts, okay? Here, let's make it a little better, Bible. I'd say right in here, watch for impacts, okay? Weak tropical storm, tropical depression, rainstorm, extratropical impacts, subtropical impacts, okay? I know I just spit out random terms there, but expect some tropical storm-like impacts if this does develop. We'll keep in touch with that in the future videos. Lastly, let's take a look at it, the forecast. Let's just use the GFS. Here it is right now, very weak, but it does show it's getting its act together as it starts getting into the coast. 1002, that's a weak tropical storm by kind of tomorrow morning, actually, and it kind of moves fast and already inland by tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. So we'll have to watch it through the rest of the day, and it kind of broadens out and brings light rain overall for many of these areas and gusting wind. So it weakens really quickly, but I mean, you can see some of these pinks, these purples bringing very heavy rain and storms into especially South Carolina and North Carolina, the Carolinas overall. Now, if you really want to take a look at other stuff like total accumulated precip, you can see a good swath of possibly up to 8-9 inches of rain is possible, maybe up to 10, and then winds. I don't know if it'll show us the winds. We can see a vorticity. It does show a kind of consolidated tropical storm, a weak tropical storm, weakening into a broadened area of energy. So, there's your forecast. Try to keep it quick as possible, give you all the information you need. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys likely tomorrow, if not Tuesday, for the next video. Keep in tune with updates, as I'll let you know when I can post. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.